Okay. We are ready. You can start in a minute. I'm turning myself off.
Just give me the to account of Ouafa Belgacem the possibility to share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. We are ready. You can start in a minute. I'm turning myself off.
Just give me the to account of Ouafa Belgacem the possibility to share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, there is a delay and the voice. Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you everybody for being here and good morning. Hello again for those who have been with me yesterday and the workshop on resources mobilization. And today we're together to talk about what the COVID has meant for the festivals and what impact it has on the activity and the work of festivals. We will look at it today from the perspective of resources mobilization. So I will talk to you what the COVID meant or done and will mean on the process of mobilizing resources for the festival and their sustainability strategies. I will not be talking about the impact of the COVID on the whole work of a festival, but I will really focus on the little part of the knowledge that I have and the expertise I work on, which is resource mobilization for the cultural creative sector. Just 1 second, allow me to share my screen to start sharing my presentation. It's not really a presentation, it's just a guiding question because I would like to run, not like yesterday workshop, it was really a workshop on really sharing basically between a course and a presentation. But today I'd like to have it like a conversation together or sharing thoughts because no one today can be sure about what to think about the COVID and the impact of the COVID. We just had glimpse of idea. I'm not sure you see my screen, although it shows shared for me, but I don't see. Yeah, Ekmel, can you help? Should I stop sharing and reshare again to see what happens? I'll do again.
Yeah, do it again, please.
Okay. But you need to give me the right to share because when I put my mouse on the sharing screen button, it doesn't work.
Which user you are? Umayma?
Ouafa.
I cannot see you on the among the users.
But I'm in. I will. I see myself. I will reload the page maybe. Internet is against us in Tunisia in these 2 last days. Sorry, technology gap. This one thing also related to the impact of the COVID on the technology and the infrastructure we use and the festivals. And I'm sure all of you have experienced this. Like, why now? And it was working 5 minutes ago.
CFW is a moderator. You can do whatever you like from this CFW account.
No, I can't, Ekmel. I need it from the laptop because on the mobile I can't use
yeah, okay, but I cannot. Okay, now you are here. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Just 1 second, it's loading. Come on. Sorry for that. So we will.
Must be okay now.
Still for me, I can't do anything. Yeah, okay, great. Sharing, here it is, and you should be seeing my screen. Not yet. I don't know what's going on. Okay, maybe
we cannot see the screen, Ouafa, but don't worry, in Istanbul as well, in Izmir, everywhere the internet connection is like that. So we are waiting, no worries.
Okay, but maybe to say, maybe because I'm connecting with two devices. So what I'm going to do, it's not a big deal if you don't see my face. I'll start with the presentation, okay? So
It is coming, Ouafa.
It is starting now, yes.
I see it now. Hallelujah. Okay, so let us start before it changes its mind. So thank you for being here. A quick introduction to who I am. My name is Ouafa Belgacem. I am based in Tunisia and I'm the founder of CFW, which is sole mission is to really focus on supporting cultural creative actors access the resources they need to keep doing their great job. We do that through three main pillars. One is through the access for information, where we share, sort, collect in one-stop shop platform about who's supporting what are the different resources available there. We share opportunities, databases on funding and investments on our website, Culture Funding Watch. We do that also through capacity building and training and resource mobilization, but we also provide all these services or activities towards raising resources, from writing, conceptualizing, fundraising, strategy development to donor engagement. And the third pillar, we really work a lot on advocacy and research for smart and sustainable art resourcing in the MENA and Africa region. We also work through our platform to just generate data. So the second platform we work with is the CCI Boost, which the platform main role is to create a virtual space where cultural creative entrepreneurs can grow their activity, connect with funders, and connect with each other, and most importantly, generate statistics, data, and use them for their advocacy and their work. Last but not least is the resource mobilization Digiton, in which the Amber Network is a partner. It's the virtual meeting. We hope it's going to be an annual virtual meeting where we connect in the same space art supporter, and when we mean supporter, we mean funder, investor, incubator, mentoring, anything that's available there to support the cultural creative actor, regardless if it's legal stage, entrepreneur, independent artist, NGO, foundation, it doesn't matter, to meet those who support them in a speed meeting format. So the event is virtual, it's free for everybody, and it will happen on the 26th of May. Just you need to pre-register to book your seat at the table of, there will be a list of donors you can see on the website, the aramdigifund.com, and you'll see the list of supporters that will be joining to present what they support, how and when you can access that support. And finally, if you want to get in touch with Culture Funding Watch, here is my email. You can contact us through info@culturefundingwatch.com. So, of course, when you talk about what impact the COVID has, the slide didn't move, it's come. I'm supposed to be in the next slide. Well, it's stuck in my face. Sorry, I'll move again to see if that happens. Strange. I'm hoping to share with you some statistics. And yes. Okay, I'll do it again. Some of the study and statistic we have collected, just to give you an example, because I'm sure you've got similar research published or done at different scales in your context and the different contexts. But in the Tunisian context, we have conducted a very quick mapping between May and August 2020. And then we have collected some of the research on the impact of the COVID on the cultural creative sector in Tunisia. Ekmel, can you give me again the right to share my screen with my account, Ouafa Belgacem? So, and we had, of course, it's really a quick mapping. You know what happened at the beginning of the pandemic. There was basically impossible to go out. People were really shocked. I mean, at least in the sector, completely shocked about how to react and what to do and how to face. So it was really a little bit challenging to collect some data, but we got at least some indicators, some numbers that give an idea how dramatic was that. So just to take, for example, the impact on the NGOs, we have conducted this study with specific profiles to different actors. So the questionnaire or the questions asked to NGOs in the cultural creative industries and sector are different from the question that when you answer as an individual, and are different from the questions when you respond to the questionnaire or to the research when you are an entrepreneur. So just to give you an idea, here is, I mean, this is very, very révélateur, like we say in French. It says a lot. Like in average, sorry, it's in French, but in average, 3 employees have been fired by art and culture NGOs. In average, every NGO have had to fire 3 people of its member or team. And of course, most of the cases, 90% of cases, these are artists. 60% of NGOs responding to the questionnaire say that they will have, in average, to fire or let go 6 employees in the future if the crisis continues. And this was done, as I told you, the questionnaire was July. So that's really dramatic. Another indicator, on average, 43 artist contract has been cancelled. Every cancellation, it's an average loss of $500 per contract per artist. $500 is not nothing. $500 in Tunisia, it's a salary, a good salary for a mid-career, good salary, like a mid-career per employee or expert in something. So that's really, really a huge loss. And for an artist, that may be the income for 2 months, you know, so in many cases. On average, 7 service contracts have been impacted by cancellation, which equivalent an average of loss $2,600 per contract by service provider also. So both, like the people who work in the sector, like produce in the sector, and people who are supporting the whole industry around, has been through dramatic impact. So, but what really happened? I mean, numbers, there will be 15,000 questionnaire and a publication you have seen here and around about COVID impact, blah, blah, blah. But let's look at it from a different angle. Okay, what happened? I see there were losses, cancellation, bankruptcy, in many cases. For festivals, small editions, like we saw that it shrank the event, whether they are small. I mean, the shrinking has been at two levels. The shrinking of the size of the ambition and the size of the festival, but also in its capacity to how to say, host audiences. So at this level, 2 level, there is shrinking of that. And then also hybridization of model. So we've seen shifting to, of course, like amberFestival, it's one good example. So we moved to virtual version, but also there have been hybrids version, part virtual, part face-to-face, or sometimes simultaneously, because to give the opportunity to larger audience to attend. So the show may happen, or the discussion, or whatever. It's the festival about the event happens online, but at the stuff with in face-to-face with a very limited number of people, but it was streamlined at the same time with the community out online. But that's the bad side. And the positive in the other side, because I would use the word positive between brackets. But we don't talk a lot about the negative impact of the COVID on the festival or all the art activities in general. But we don't talk enough, or we don't think a lot about not its positive side, but what it brought in terms of change that are not harmful, let's put it that way. The innovation. If we talk, we're not even talking only about the innovation of the model and of how you engage your audience and how you organize and what are the tools you use to organize your festival, but even the innovation in the infrastructure to this festival, because this festival, our meeting today, wouldn't happen if there is this BBB network. It wasn't for other Zoom and etc. So, and the pace and the rhythm of the innovation within a year, with about those online connecting between brackets a platform, it was amazing. I mean, it was great. And then, of course, with innovation, there came opportunities. But when we talk also opportunity, I see they came opportunity to reach other audiences, opportunities, because we've been more or less forced to go to go virtual. I was talking earlier about the RMD. The resource mobilization did it on this meet up virtual. At the first, before the COVID, it was a face-to-face event. We used to organize it in a big room once a year in Tunisia, inviting cultural creative actors, supporter, funder, investor, incubators, and the cultural creative community to meet in a speed meeting rounds for half a day. It was during the Carthage International Theatre Festival. It was part of the festival program. And we were only focusing on Tunisia, focus supporter. Like we invite international donor, but only in the case they fund or support programs or activities in Tunisia. And then the COVID forced us to rethink the model, forced us to, okay, you're gonna do it virtual, but how? At the beginning, like this was like the fourth edition, because we've done 3 editions in face-to-face. And the 4th edition was supposed to happen last December. And of course, last December was too early. There wasn't that many platforms like this one, or I don't know, many other platforms that offer these online things. And we were basically thinking only of Zoom. The obvious at that time was Zoom. And because the Zoom didn't really fit with the concept of this speed meeting and people moving from one to one, and break rooms didn't really, break rooms, it was, yeah, it could happen, but we decided not to do it because it kills the experience. The experience of people walking, going around and moving from a table to another, and having also the opportunity to talk to each other, but taking ownership on their movement on the platform, it didn't work with Zoom, because the Zoom, the break rooms, it's you, the admin, who puts people here and there. And we didn't like it, so we dropped it, and we say, okay, there will be no Aram Digital 20, it was called Resource Mobilization Info Day at that time. And we said, okay, no Info Day on 2020, let's see 2021. Until the day that I was invited in a Pan-African conference, meetup. Also, it was a festival. It used to be face-to-face. They did it online. And I discovered the platform that was really, I mean, it was amazing. Like, it was sur mesure. Like, it seemed like the people who developed it was done on thinking on our speed meeting concept. And then we said, bingo, first, now we can do it, because the user experience, the people connecting to each other gives them the freedom to talk to each other without anyone from the organizer to interfere. And then we got in touch then when we started working on it. And then we said, before we used to do it only focus on Tunisia because of the lack of means. We've been organizing the Resource Info Day for 3 years with 0 funding, but really 0 funding. And we said, yeah, we can do more, because if you want to invite an investor or donor from the region or from other countries, it's costing you. You have the hotel, you have the flight, it's impossible. And then when we got this virtual thing, and we said, wow, we just realized that the limit to our desire to gather more people and make it really a big, huge event that everybody meets everybody. It's the RMD Digital is about really talking to each other. And then we said, great, that innovation helped us move scale from just our close community to reach out to others and to more. I'm not just saying that this should be the logic or the natural development of a festival, of a big gathering, but for us, that has a meaning, because the objective is to really connect more people so that there will be more exchange, more projects, because the RMD is not a festival really in the meaning of festival. We don't have the same motivation that you do on art and creativity. But it's a good example of how the innovation had opened the opportunity to scale up, to have more impact, to even be more how to say, knowledgeable about what's going on in other places. And that brings me to the third element, new power balance. There is a good thing in this virtual thing in terms of, and I'm sure you all experienced this, had opened to us, the small organization, the people who have no means to, this is related to the next point, the mobility barrier. I mean, what was personally preventing us from doing bigger things that we dream to do, connecting with and experimenting with other people, other regions and other places? It was the mobility barrier, whether it is due to financial problem or due to legal and visa or its problem. So with this, I have reached out to people. I have connected to people that I would never ever dream of connecting with if it wasn't for these virtual things. It was, of course, now everybody agree with you. There is an overdose of virtual event. It's okay. Everybody is doing Zooms, etc. But we have to admit it. It brought it had shifted the power balance. It had shifted les cartes, comme on dit en français. It was the cards together. It gave the small one the opportunity, if those who have been smart, I mean, they're not smart, between brackets, but those who has been very reactive to that opportunity, those who have from the beginning of the crisis that had understood what does it mean to very quickly start revert to the virtual part of it. Those have had the chance to first the position completely, either in terms of visibility, of connection, of leadership on something. They have had that, they took that opportunity. So I see also on these virtualization of festivals, it shifts the power balance. It gives the opportunity at least to shift the power balance, because you can, I mean, I was talking to a festival manager in Tunisia a few weeks ago, and he was saying it was good because I had all the connection. I know all the artists everywhere, and we would always dream of doing things together. And then he said my festival stayed small just because I don't have the money to provide for these artists to come and do things together, and they have to be paid for that. So I couldn't afford to live my dream. And then he said, now with these online things, the cost is cut too low because I can pay the artist the money that I used to spend in flights, hotels. Now I can give it to the artists, and I have more artists and more creatives in my festival, in my activities. And then he said, and then now my festival is it's put at the same level than XYZ festival that this is his was feeling, not what I'm saying, but that he feel like the other festivals are bigger or more renowned and more because they have financial needs. So at least the financial barrier could be reduced a lot in this case. Of course, I agree with him that the experience is not the same and that that's not the future. I mean, he's not expecting to transform his festival in a virtual manner all the time. But at least, even if it's one-time experience, it is good that he left it and he been able to connect with so many artists. But also, even those who didn't have time or didn't know how, or didn't want to go to the virtual world and this virtualization race, it was good also for some of us to take time to reflect, to sit and say, okay, what I've been doing. And we've seen it, for example, in Tunisia and Ministry of Culture, good or bad, sometimes there are good things that our governments can do. They took time to, they invested some of the budget that they were used to be for the show and how to say, the performance, etc. And they invested in capacity building for festival management people. Things that they couldn't do before because they have to make very horrible choices. Because in Tunisia, for example, I'm talking here about big international festival. In Tunisia, the government has basically the monopoly on international festival organization. Like basically, they become festival managers. For I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. The International Carthage Festival, the International Film Festival, and the International Theater Festival. These are one of the main big international, even well renowned in the African and MENA region, and sometimes for example, Carthage Cinema Festival. It's one of worldwide. And then, so they had at the time when before the COVID, the dilemma of keeping that big festival with that value and power. You have the bigger, the logic of the big. Donc, if you want to be the big, you have to bring the big names, you have to bring many more people, and of course the resources are limited. So at the time, the strategic decision was invest all in the festival itself and invest very little in the preparation and the capacity and the people managing and organizing those festivals. And it has been really for a long time and still a big weakness on the logistics, the management, how even the thinking, the vision, the positioning of the festival has been always criticized. And then during the COVID, they took time to put that money or some of that money in organizing a good cycle of capacity building for those who are in charge of managing the festivals. So it was a time to reflect and to invest in the infrastructure, because usually when we talk on infrastructure, we're not only talking about the spaces or the big theater or the show thing, we talk on also of the people who are all the logistics, all the value chain, all the works and the activities around organizing a festival. And of course, this is from the organization side, but also from as a sector, huge and interesting debates took and are still taking place now. What is the mission? What's the role? How is it? All this shock, all this, all those questioning that the COVID brought to humanity at many levels has also touched the sector. And it was for me, it's a good positive thing that, whoa, nature forced us to sit down and think about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So please, we're not supposed to miss that and do it and take time to really think what we are doing and where are we going. And in the virtual world now, once we are in this virtual world, of course there are limitations. As I said, we lose connection to human. I mean, the experience online has nothing to do, of course, with the experience face-to-face. The art cannot be appreciated behind the screen. I mean, you cannot taste the same way you taste a pièce de théâtre or a film, pièce de théâtre or a dance show, or when you are behind the screen. Maybe an old-fashioned, but I can't that good taste it when it's behind screen. Or the question is, yes, but isn't also an option to include more people that cannot join for different reasons, whether they are far from what the festival is, whether they can come because they can get the visa, or whether they can attend because they don't have the money for that, or they cannot move because they have kind of disability and they would like, even the half experience is better than no experience. So that's the kind of the dilemma that will be in festival. How far we could go into the virtualization, or shouldn't we go at all? And I am, in my personal opinion, I don't think it should be either or. I think we should also think, because I feel that the trend is, when we talk about the experience, everyone tends to experience with art. Everyone tends to think of it from its own experience. Like maybe, sorry, my other phone is ringing. But we should ask ourselves experience, because we come, we think from the assumption that everybody experiences art and has a relationship with art or performance the same way. I don't think so. I think even each of us, at a certain phase of your life, your relationship to the different form of art and how you interact and you like to interact changes a lot. I don't know, I can give an example. When you're in 20s, yeah, you like to be out with it, but after a certain age, some quiet will be good. Sometimes you may like better to watch something behind the screen than going and being in a big crowd. And it could be maybe not even during the age phase, it's phases, like, I don't know, this month I'm okay, next month I'm not in a good mood, but I'd like to watch a play something but behind screen this time, not really in the thing. So I personally think that it shouldn't be either or. This is my thinking now. It can change later, but now this is how I feel it. And also, still also, because the technology plays a big part in this projection, how we're gonna do, what does it mean for us? The pace and the rhythm of which the technology is changing may change your way to think your festival radically. Because as I give you an example, the platform that we've seen for the RMD, if it didn't exist, I wouldn't be organizing it. So if someone says, yeah, the user experience now, it's not the same behind screen, you know, but you don't know what in 1 year, what that user experience will look like, at least the virtual one will look like. I will share with you here. I was thinking to leaving it for the last part of the discussion. So what do you think of this statement? I argue that mega events will only continue to offer meaning and value if they commit to protecting their placemaking and community building festival dimension. A mega event transformed into closed-door media event exclusively has no future. I would say clearly, she hasn't experienced the platform that I knew about. Because the user experience in that, I mean, it's not closed door, people can get in, can talk to each other, so this, and still she's right, in the sense that it's still behind screen, it's still, you're still prisoner of your mobile, you're still prisoner of the internet connection. And of course, I would like to come back to here, the inclusion. Even the inclusion, it's questionable here when I use, because yeah, we all know what the digital gap is, how unfair and unequal is the access to internet and to the connection. So inclusion, it's between brackets, it's inclusion, yes, but you have to have a good internet connection, and that's not the case everywhere. and even when we're supposed to have one good, you have seen this morning we had difficulties to connect. So what the COVID is jeopardizing in terms of resource mobilization for the festivals? For me, it's jeopardizing. It depends on what has been your resourcing model or strategy from the beginning. So if we talk about big festivals or let's say not local small festival, like not a festival that I don't like the word big and small, but let's say if it's not a festival that is targeting a very large audience, but it's focused on its close community, that I don't think the COVID, in terms of pardon, not the COVID, but the digitalization is how to say, the digitalization, it's not the opportunity for them, and it's jeopardizing them extremely highly in terms of on short term. However, on the mid to on long term, when the things will come back, between brackets, I don't like that word, the new normal, they will continue, they will easily come back to their resourcing model as they used to be. But international and larger audience organization, they will have very trouble in continuing on the hybrid or not the hybrid, sorry, on the 100% virtual model. Why? Because at the beginning, these big events, especially when they are in partnership with local authority or regional thing, usually, and many of them, build their resourcing strategy on the economic impact of the festival on the territory or the region they are happening. And we know that, like big festival like Rio, it's the income for the community, the whole Rio city of 6 months that happens in 1 month of festival. So the deal with whoever is sponsoring, supporting, funding is about the income it generates, not only for the festival organizer or the government, but it's every single enterprise, organization, individuals, which activity are related to the festival or could benefit from the festival. And now if they shift permanently to the virtual model, that deal, it's off the table, because there will be, at least for many of them, if we're talking about, if they're getting support from the tourism industry, hotel, flight booking things, all these people will not continue doing this, because if you're hybrid, there is nothing they get in. And that's where there is a need for a time to reflect what would be then the relationship, or what would be then the motivation for these people if we continue and we offer to continue the virtual version of it. Or the question should be also, what are the other, like that would be substitute. In the virtual, there will be other organization, institution, let's say stakeholder, that will have a relation to the virtual use of or the virtual activities. And then you should, from now, start reflecting on that. Like you sit and you say, in the virtual version, who are these stakeholders that might be interested to partner to keep this virtual version continue? If, of course, you go for this strategy, like your decision is now, it's in the virtual. If you are in the hybrid for me, I think it's the best thing. Keep it both, because you would offer to so many people the different experiences that they will look at. As I said earlier, we shouldn't be that, how to say, sure of ourselves and arrogant to pretend that we all have the same need for experience of relationship to the art. I think it's really pretentious to say that, oh, that's not the way we interact with art. That's your way. I think others, rather than, I don't know, I mean, I don't know, shy people, people who don't like to be with full of other people, they have right to exist, and they can enjoy, and they enjoy it, being alone and watching, and maybe that will open them. So, and honestly, open or not open, even when I'm saying open, it's very arrogant, like I consider that it's wrong, and then we have to fix these people. No, I mean, I just accept we have different ways to enjoy different things in life, and that should everyone accept it. And I think the hybrid version gives this the opportunity to this one. I mean, and even the virtual versions, like as I said, opened doors, facilitated connections. Isn't that also part of the art mission? Is connecting people? Then later we'll see if I can do it face to face. If I have the mean, I would love to. But if I don't, that's already something. And again, the hybrid thing, it gives you, I mean, I think and now in terms of resource mobilization, the hybrid approach is really smart in terms that it allows you to enlarge and widen the spectrum or the pool of the possible supporter of your organization. The only thing you have to do, and you cannot approach or think of how you're going to mobilize resource for your festival the same way you do it for the face-to-face part, like the live part, or the same way you do it for the virtual part. I think you should sit and reflect on what are the stakeholders for the both universe, and then have different strategies. Here, this is the pool, these are the possible stakeholders, and this is how I'm going to engage with them, and this is how I'm going to partner with them. And the other one, I think I don't have to tell you about it because you've already been doing it. So you just keep going, doing, and but you could have to see, okay, what has changed in the relationship with this one? Of course, those were I mean, that's one of the big mistakes is to build sponsorship relationship with sponsors that just it's like a communication. It's just put my logo here, how many times you went on the TV, because these people, and the deal was this for them, it's visibility. Since there is no visibility, not too many people, then goodbye. So these are not really partners, it's like business things. And that's not sustainable. So I think one good thing, also one other thing that positive that the COVID brought, it's just questioning also these financing models of festivals, and mainly large festivals. And back to the roots, I find it very interesting when people start now talking about why are we reducing the festivals and our activity now, the festivals that becomes just numbers, economic. Guys, but that's the backlash of a discussion we have been having over the last 10 years. We contributed to that, whether we're by ourselves continuing talking only on the economic impact, or by just doing nothing about it. Okay, I know it's easy to say this because in other contexts, that was the only way that decision maker or policy maker could listen to you. I mean, in some countries, talking about social value, well-being, it's like we're 10,000 years ahead of the decision maker in our ecosystems. But still, I mean, here for festivals, what is questioned here is why the need for internationalization? Why the need for have extremely large festival? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. And starting from there, you could think about what is the resources strategy for it, and not the other way around. I think in many cases, the decision of going international, it's mostly motivated, or not even motivated, like dragged. It wasn't a choice, basically. It's more related to funding, because the larger you are, the more visibility you have, the more possibility of attracting resources you have. It's like a vicious circle. And I think what COVID brought for us is just to sit and say, why do I need to be international festival? If that is related to the mission, to the impact I want to do, yes. But if it's not, how can I get out from this circle of dependency between the size of my festival or my activity and the funding that I can do. And this is where the hybrid version offer us a great opportunity, because it's offer us to reshape the business model that you operate, the resourcing strategy that you operate. It gives more chances, more options, and more possibilities without going linking it with the number and just indicators. So that's very quickly what my crazy thoughts. Of course, there are some good and some completely rubbish. I'm open to discussion, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ouafa, for the presentation. It was great. This is Amir Ali. Maybe I can turn on my camera too, so we can see each other. Hi. We have been running a festival since 2007. We did 8 editions. It's called Limited Access Festival. And regarding the last part of your presentation, it always shrinks or expands depending on the partners and the program we have. Sometimes it's just 3 days, sometimes it's larger in many venues. So, but we never tried to get the funding. We just got travel funding for some of our guests. So back to this question of why it has to be international. If it is not international, we cannot have this guests flight and I don't know, per diem covered. But right now we are facing another problem, because as you know, the embassies are a little bit slower in terms of thinking new. For example, for them, if they're not paying a fee for a lecture in their space, or if they're not paying flight and accommodation, they don't know if it's up to them to cover this or the city that the guest is already in. You know, because for them it's not really clear. Okay, if one artist from one country is coming to a city, it's their responsibility. If not, even if the event is taking place virtually, because this virtual doesn't manifest the existing borders. So for this year that we are doing it in September, we don't know what to do. If it's like we stick to like what we have, or what they can mobilize independently, or because I mean there is travel fund. If there is no travel, there is no travel fund.
But I didn't get your question, Amir. What's the question?
Some of the I mean, about the being international, I mean, it's not always a choice. Sometimes we want to have the freedom to invite people, but right now, if you invite somebody for an event online, nobody's going to pay for it from Iran, and nobody's going to pay from the embassy and cultural centers of the embassy circle. So for that, we have to think of how we can mobilize resources.
True, because as you said, you're absolutely true in saying embassies are slow to adapt. It's actually, the right word is institutional donors, because when it's an institution, decision making is slower. So, and as I said yesterday, it's about mixing resources. So until that institution gets ready, you work with those who can make a decision very fast. So in that case, in your case, I would advise to look for sponsors. These people are, as I said earlier, they are in a business relationship. They're not your partner. It's give. So if you have visibility, and these people, I mean, not sponsor, that's the sponsor, but you should also look to the private and private sector, because the decision making is quick. If you convince the director, you got your check the next day. So, or the sponsorship, if you agree, it's okay, next week it's done. So you have to sit and see, okay, what are the businesses that might have interest or common think together with us? I don't know, if your festival is about, I don't know, it's in the fashion, then I took the easy example just to, so if your festival is in the fashion design or the clothes, all the garment industry will be interested in your event. So you go there and you choose the people who have the same value than you. Of course, you're not going to take anybody like, yeah, it's just money. But I'm quite sure in that huge industry, they're not only evil capitalists. There are some people who are good and it's just a job. So you can find someone to help you there. Other thing, and I, as I said again yesterday, the new generation of leaders, like business leaders, they are a generation that is really sensitive to art. They understand the importance of this industry. They understand at least it's economic, as I said earlier. At least when you talk to them, they understand its value, its potential, and its importance in their ecosystem. They're not talking about like economic in terms, yeah, how many jobs, but they know that they need it even for their own existence. So there you have a very easy to access allies because they already open to cooperate with you. And also all those new technology people, they are, I mean, who can launch a business or a platform without having to work with a creative? So these people really aware of the importance of supporting artists, sustaining the creativity. You can build a very good alliance with these people. So knock those doors first.
Thank you, Ouafa.
You're welcome.
Hi, Rafa. Thank you again for this presentation and the evaluation of the current situation. I want to, because you were mentioned festivals during your talk, I mean, I want just to reconsider our festival, amberFestival, which we had in between 2007 and 15. And now we are kind of returning, revisiting the festival, I mean, reinstalling it in a different way. First of all, I mean, we were independent festival with no funding from the regular usual sources. We run the festival through the other European projects we run parallel to the festival. So always the other European Creative Europe events were actually part of our festival. The reason was first of all, we didn't have a public support in Turkey. We never had a proper public support in Turkey to the contemporary art in general. The second thing, there was no institutional also support. I mean, there is no such an institution like I don't know, the foundations, etc. in Turkey. And all the institutions run their own culture spaces, and they flow their money to their spaces only and their relations. They connected with each other, but not to the independent scene, or this is our corporate relations in a way. The third thing, we didn't want to support it by private sector, because this is also in Turkey, it means that you are somehow a face, or you are carrying a brand or something to the market in a different way. I mean, because none of the corporations are wide, clean, or something. They are part of this capitalist system, and if you are, this is why we didn't want to work with them. But the other way, direction, from their perspective, also we are kind of try to be, as far as we can, in a way, politic. So our choices, our teams didn't fit their approaches. So, I mean, this resource management thing is a thing that we never solved, never understood, really. And in a sense, I am, old-fashioned in my approach. I mean, I'm kind of, that old leftist position in a way. I'm not really that, but sometimes I saw our approach in that way. Now, so you are saying now this hybrid model took the requirement for the bigger monies, maybe. I mean, as this festival, but even this festival could have been possible by support from the German balance state. So, I mean, we always need some sort of connection. I don't know. I mean, just still, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's first, it's I mean, this discourse about total sustainability of a festival or an art organization, it's dangerous. We know that we're not supposed to prove that we have to be 100% self-funded, because it's a lie, and I don't understand why we expect that from art and culture sector, and why we accept that in the other sector. Like, I mean, it's a lie to say that the agriculture sector is totally sustainable and self-sustained. There is no economy in the world where their agriculture sector is not subsidized. And that's fair, I agree, and that's good. I'm not criticizing that. But why do you expect from us to be 100% on our own, and you find it legitimate to finance agri-tech, I don't know, and other sector, many other sectors, the car industry. If you look at the subsidies the government is giving it, the number of support, whether it's in kind or in money. So we should be very careful in getting the idea of resource mobilization. It's not that the objective of it is that you can rely on your own resources. No, the idea is not there. The idea is to become sustainable in terms of you have the minimum self-income or different resources that could guarantee the way that you keep going and doing what you're doing, and that you can rely on different source of income, that if this source stops today, you're not going to die. That's the sustainability. Sustainability doesn't mean that you have to find your resources by your own, at least the way I see it and CFW see it. It's not about, it's an utopia, it's impossible. I don't give a magic recipes, then you become self-sustained. The sustainability, it's about, I don't like the word resilience because the people are using it in à tort et à travers. But the sustainability, the way I see it for the sector, it's in our capacity to strategize for our financial resources so we can keep going what we are doing. And so we are not dependent in one source, so they are not fragile to shocks. If a shock like the COVID happens, there shouldn't be that many organizations disappearing and that many people suffering from that.
Yeah, we always thought of the alternative funding models, like, I mean, crowdfunding was one of them, or the local community is another way of doing it, or I don't know, the other models, but none of them were kind of become, mainstream till now.
It's
and
not.
Probably not.
And it's not gonna happen because it's even in terms of sustainability, it's not good. I mean, you're not sustainable if you depend on one source of income. And I find the word funny, alternative thing. The crowdfunding is a concept exists for, since I started fundraising as a profession, I know about it. Started 2004. It's not an alternative. It's just took a virtual form, like a numérisé, digital form. But the crowdfunding, this is what your mom and my mom used it to do. We call it differently, tontine and tontine, or whatever it's called in different contexts. They get together like 10, 15 people and give to each other. The crowdfunding is what has built churches and mosques everywhere in my country. It's through people collecting income in the streets. It's just done in crowdfunding platforms now. So it's not looking to alternative. Rather, I would say the right advice is looking on to diversifying your source of income and balancing your different source of income. That's it.
Yes, thank you. It is nice hearing these terms again and again. It is required.
Thank
Needed.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, is there any other question or comments from the audience?
I wrote in the chat, I mean, the state support and subsidies often become a control mechanism. So in certain countries, it's not that they want to support, they want to know who is doing what. And also they cut the support if they don't like it. So sometimes it's, I mean, in situations like maybe with ECMO and us, I mean, we prefer not to go to them at all. So we try to stay away as much as possible, and we did so in the past 8 editions. So, and also on the other hand, you should not grow and take so much attention if you are so much publicized and if you're like, so I mean, get a lot of press, you will have problem also because you are too visible and you are becoming too big to not to be noticed or to be ignored.
I would like just to rectify one thing. When you say the government uses as a way to control, it's not only the government. I mean, there is a control level. Anyway, when you have money and you give money, there is a power. You're in a power relationship. The ones who gives has the power to decide yes or no to give it to you. And then what? Because what's the difference between you applying for an European funding? It's the same. It's not. They are controlling in a way because they would decide if they don't, as you said, if the government don't like what you do, they don't give you. The same if you apply for the EU. If they don't like your project, they don't give you. The only difference is the criteria for like or not is different. But the selection process, I mean, there is a selection process. When there is money, there is power. This is why, and Ikmal knows that. I fight. And I made it a fight for myself to make at least sure that there are income resources diversified in every single country in the global south. Because there is a power relationship when giving money, whether you like it or not. Whether it's assessed based on the artistic value. The fact that you apply for a foundation and doesn't give you money because your art doesn't fit their philosophy. It's a way for them because they don't like your art. There is a kind of a control there because they decided that they're not saying that your art is not good, but there is a kind of control. They don't like your art. They focus on this kind of art. So the importance, and there will be the same because as long as there is selection, there are choices to be made, of course, and then the difference will be what are the criteria to select. Sometimes there are between bracket positive criteria, excellence, quality, seriousness. Sometimes the criteria could be bad criteria, political, freedom of expression, censorship, and that kind of things. But the selection is always there, especially when it comes to institutional funding. Why? And it's what I always say. It's bad and not bad because a selection and a control mechanism. And why also when you say governments, it's slow, but that's the price to pay for transparency and managing public income money. I prefer the slowliness than speeding because if you don't control, because that's the price to pay for transparency. Government up to now in any ecosystem, even in most rigid ecosystem, I mean in any country, if you compare it, you would find that the institutions are still the most transparent one. Of course, with the levels, let's say the degrees are different. But even in the most dictatorship ecosystem, you look Yes, the government is untransparent, is corrupted, blah, blah, blah. But look, at least they publish something. Look at the private sector in your country, in the same country. They are far more untransparent and unfair. So the public money management takes that. It takes that because it's say income taxpayer. So they put law, they put process to control, and of course their degree to bureaucracy controlling, of course. But that's where is the dilemma. It's finding the equilibrium between the need and the responsibility to manage public money and making good use of it and not using it to reprehend people and restrain their freedom.
Thank you, Ouafa. That was clear.
Yeah, as I listen to you, I mean, I'm feeling that our approach is kind of, in quotation, naive.
No, there is nothing naive. It's just things are very complicated. I mean, the more you think about it, the more you change your mind every 3 hours. It's just, and maybe this thinking I have today will change in 3 days, because the pace and the speed that leads and the invisibility towards the COVID and what's going on and what's happening, it's really hard to follow. I mean, every day you got, in 1 week things may change drastically, so we're all trying. I mean, now it's just about trying and trying and trying and trying. Testing.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, I am Seçil from Istanbul, Passage. I would like to, I mean, your presentations reminded me that I agree what Ekmel said till now about Turkish conditions, but your presentations reminded me that we are quite conservative, because we see it's like funding is in a very static way to ask money from some sponsors that they will use us, they will get benefits of what we do or manipulate it. But I think we need to think in another way. Like this reminded me that we need to open up our mind, not like the conditions. Maybe conditions are quite difficult, it's fine, but there's always an option.
Yeah.
That is really nice to see it in this way, because we are always also, we judge the things. Like, for example, we are a small association, not even an association initiative, and we've been running the space for 10 years, and it's not easy, like being still continuing 10 years. But for example, for me, it is not nice to go on the street to ask money. But then I think, why I like perceive it like this? It is my problem, not the society's problem, actually. So it was like, in this way, it was very interesting. Maybe it helps us to see it, funding opportunities in a different point of view.
Absolutely. And you can just, I always say, as much as I hate the internet control, as much as I say, God bless Google, everything is on Google. You just Google and you will find hundreds and thousands of ideas on street fundraising, innovative crowdfunding ideas. Like, for example, if you're not comfortable, because we call it street fund, but it's a face-to-face fundraising. And if you're not comfortable in sitting on the street, there are other ways to fundraise. For example, you can partner with coffee places, coffee space. They are sensitive to art, they like the art. You can conduct a fundraising campaign for your NGO. The campaign would be charging and offering to their client to charge $1 extra if they accept, like they accept. You just put it, you take stickers and you explain the campaign. You stick it on the tables for their customer, or you put it in a flyer. And then when they pay, they ask them, would you like to give, I charge you $1 more, and the $1 goes for that association. And then you don't have this, if you don't comfortable with, like you feel like you're begging in the street. And it's also not possible. In some countries, forbidden by law, so you can do it. But there are alternatives to reach out to people in crowd places. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. That is the point. We need to look for the alternatives for every kind of funding.
Absolutely.
Because you want to continue. This is the basic need.
Yes,
Thank you.
Seçil, and another term, yeah, we are conservative and naive in that sense. Regarding, although we are living in the same, this money powered system, we are trying to be kind of avoided by not playing the game, actually.
That easy.
Yeah, thank you.
The problem is like you need to show what is the important point, what is the core of the action. We want to do it or not. I mean, of course, we don't do it something against our ideas, but we need to keep on trying.
Yeah.
This is what I got from all these conferences. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Wafa. It was very, very useful. I feel and believe these two talk.
You're welcome. Anyway, you just subscribe to CFW newsletter because we organize many of these online things now. And you will be kept aware about what's going on and fundraising for the arts.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your talk and time and energy. And thank you to the audience.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. So see you in the one-to-ones, Emil.
Yeah. See you there.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.